Academy Street. Obviously, infrastructure is a pretty important concern of our city residents, so I was going to talk a little bit. I know most people saw the bus that was stuck on the Court Street project. Obviously, that bus should not have gone that way, but I don't really understand why that pedestrian bump out is there. I don't understand most of that Court Street reconstruction. I mean, those sidewalks are bigger than New York City sidewalks. And I mean, how many people walk on Court Street in a day? I bet you it's less than 100. It's extremely unused. So why are we spending so much money on a street redoing sidewalks that don't need to be redone instead of spending $3 million on sidewalks that do need to be done, which could be any street in Watertown if you've walked, and I know I've brought this up many times. The sidewalks are not taken care of. Watertown is not an easy walking city. You want to have beautiful things, you want to be able to make it so that people can walk around and do stuff, but you're not actually doing the things that need to be done to allow people to do things easily, like pushing a stroller, walking children, walking side by side. Most of our sidewalks aren't big enough, they're not flat. We do some really strange things. The Court Street reconstruction hasn't, I know the CCI is back down there now. We could fix this before they go all the way up to the square and then the entire street is screwed up. They've done the bottom portion. The bump outs need to go. The sidewalks need to maintain the width that they are currently. There's no reason for them to be any wider than they are. The last snowstorm that we had showed that DPW pushes snow off the sidewalks at night, and then it's usually 24 hours before they come back with a rotary and take care of all that snow. With the width of the sidewalks we have now and the parking space size available, we can push that snow off onto the parking spaces and people can still park in those spaces without being in traffic. With the new extra large sidewalks, they push the snow off onto the parking lot or onto the parking spaces, and now you cannot park in those parking spaces during the day. So you're going to block out entire parking spaces on Court Street for 24 hours minimum, depending on how much snowfall we have. So that project, I don't know who decides that these are good plans and why we need to change things that have worked for a long time. Court Street's been functional and extremely functional for a long time. So why do we need to re-engineer it? Why can't we just, let's replace the sidewalks, pave it, maybe add some planters, make it a little bit nicer, and spend the money doing engineering in parts of the city that need engineering, because we wouldn't need to have engineered sidewalk replacement. Another issue I see, Mr. Hickey saw it today, the city DPW guys are doing curb replacements on Pauling Street. Well, I'm sure you've seen driving around town, there's orange barrels in front of curbs all over the city. DPW has been instructed to do what they call spike-on curbs. So what they do is they put pavement on the side of the road, they drive rebar into it, and then they place curbs on top of it. The curbs have nothing to hold them in. So a snowplow comes by, taps it, it breaks. These things are breaking all over the city. Why are we spending money putting these curbs on just so that we have to replace them a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later? Curbs are meant to be put into the ground and then extend above grade so that if something does hit them, they actually withstand the hit and keep the vehicle or whatever in the road. And a lot of times when we do these spike-on curbs, we're shrinking the road sizes too, which is unnecessary and creates issues for our snowplow drivers. We're making roads smaller, and it makes it much more difficult for them to plow the roads. A lot of times, they'll have to lift up a wing, move over to the side so a car can go down the street. Thompson Boulevard is a good example, the stretch of Thompson between Franklin Street and the Park Circle. One side of that road has a culvert on it, and it had always been a culvert. 5 years ago, we decided that it would be a good idea to take a road that naturally drains into a culvert and put a curb along its entire width. For what reason, I do not understand, but now you cannot pass a curb with a wing, or pass a plow with a wing down and a car on the side of the road. The plows have to stop, lift up, and a lot of times they leave snow on the road. And if you ask our plow drivers what they thought about these road construction issues, they would give you their advice. And I guarantee you, it would be valid advice. These guys have a lot of experience, and I think they should be listened to. I don't understand the road narrowing. It makes things much more difficult. We don't live in a sunny climate. We have to take into account that we have snow removal, and every time we shrink something, it makes it more difficult. Some of these roads that we're shrinking have been 70, 80, 90 years designed, and I think the designers back then were a lot more practical. They had a lot more practical knowledge than we do now. And it would be nice if we started to consider maybe just redoing things the way they are and improving them.
You're at 5 minutes, Mr. Shoen,
All
so.
right. Well, I know this isn't
I know
very
you-
common for residents to bring this to the attention of the city, but it's things that I think need to be brought to the attention, because if we're going to spend infrastructure dollars, we should do that in a way that actually provides an increased benefit to the people using these things. Instead of making it more difficult for not only our city DPW staff, it costs us more money, we have to fix these things year after year, and it makes things harder for everybody. Maybe we should reconsider and think about it. Maybe there should be a little more oversight in the decision-making. We can correct these issues. Obviously, these issues like the Court Street issue, somebody has seen that that's a problem. We could take care of that before it actually goes all the way to the end of being completed. Thank you
you.
very much.
Anybody else? All righty, we'll go to resolutions.